Okay. Okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum. And a very good day to our lecturer, Madam Nur Shohada, and also to our fellow classmates. So today, our group, which is Group 9, will be presenting the topic basins in Malaysia, specifically on the overview on the sedimentology and reservoir geometry of carbonate buildups in central Luconia. Our group mates consist of Alexander, me, Irfan, Siti Zuhaira, and also Nazrin. Next, I'll give Nazrin the floor to explain about our introduction.
Today we'd like to talk about introduction to Central Luconia. Okay, Central Luconia is an important province in the Sarawak Basin due to the oil and gas industry. Although the first discovery of hydrocarbon was first discovered in the 60 years ago, the Central Luconia is still a geological key feature in understanding the hydrocarbon resource in Malaysia. The Central Luconia offshore gas development had started in the 1982 according to the geological feature had been studied extensively based on a single platform. During the Miocene age, the dominant carbonate production has started in the Central Luconia province. Unfortunately, only the southern part of the Central Luconia had undergone carbonate growth. But during the middle until the late Miocene, there were a mega carbonate deposited during that time. Okay, next slide please. Okay, the figure shows the geological sectors which differentiate in the Luconia province, the offshore Sarawak, and the East Malaysia. Okay, next please. Okay, now I would like to present about the sedimentology of carbonates. Okay, in central Luconia, most of the sediments are dominated by prograding clanoform, which form the basis for subdivision of the stratigraphy into 8 different regressive cycles, which are separated by major triangulation. Okay, for the letophysis study, the 4th cycle, which is the middle Miocene, and the 5th cycle, which is the late Miocene, represent well A and B respectively. A total of 688 feet or 210 meters of course were lodged from well A and B, and it contains 8 different types of lithofaces, but only 5 are able to be recognized. Okay, the figure below shows the offshore Sarawak structural sketch showing the boundaries of the Central Luconia sector with numerous carbonate platforms in the Luconia province. Okay, next I will pass on to Alex for the next presentation.
So next, I will present about the 5 phases that has been recognized in Central Luconia. So the first one is coated grain backstone. This phases 1 consists of well-connected backstone, and it is composed of algae, corals, and also diverse assemblage of skeletal debris with a minor constituent of echinoderms and also bivalve. The size of the grains is from fine to medium gravel, and the porosity range from 0.1 to 8%, and the average permeability is 1 md, which means that this phases 1 is poor reservoir phases with a low porosity and also permeability. The second one is massive coral limestone, lime grindstone. So this phases 2 is composed of techstone, grindstone, rootstone texture. It is dominated by a massive coral and coral debris, along with a diverse assemblage of skeletal components, monoplatic corals debris, and also branching coral debris as well. The grain size is very close to granule in size with polysalted grains. This is the best reservoir phases type, having the highest average of porosity rate, which range 7 to 25%, and the permeability up to 10 md over other phases types in well A and well B. The third one is uncollated lime grind dominated backstone. So this phases comprises predominantly backstone rootstone texture. About more than 70% of this type of phases is dominated by the diverse rhodolite, uncollated assemblage, with other contributions of skeletal debris, including the foraminifera, red algae, massive corals, minor bivalve, and also echinoderms. The grain size is from medium to gravel, and the grains are moderately to polysorted. So next, so the fourth one is skeletal lime stones. So this species 4 comprises carbonates with grain supported texture. Based on the grain density, phase 4 is composed of limestone to dolomite, but the presence of limestone is more than dolomite. The thickness of this species is from a few centimeters to up to 2 meters. And also the grain size is from fine coarse granule with angular to subangular in shape. And the porosity range from 0.1 to 2.2%, whereas the permeability is up to 10 md. And the last one is coral lime mud dominated backstone. So this species is waxstone textures, and the platy corals are the dominant contributor along with foraminifera debris, corals, and also red algae. The grains are polysorted, and the porosity is ranged from 1 to 8% with the permeability of less than 1 md. And it reflects that this type of phases is poor reservoir quality with a low porosity and also permeability value. Next. So this diagram here shows the depositional model representing the distributions of phases from the lagoon to off-reef during the transgressions and also regressions in central Luconia offshore Sarawak, Malaysia. So next, I will pass to the next presenter.
Okay, now we move to the reservoir geometry. But before that, let's go through the geology of the area in central Luconia, Sarawak. So based on the introduction part, the diagram in the introduction part, it showed that the relatively mature Malay, which is Sabah and Sarawak, were among the most prolific in Southeast Asia with extensive exploration and production. Since Miri in Sarawak was the first oil discovered in 1882, even though most of the production have been from the offshore fields. And because of that, the resulting discovery of the 7 giant fields and other 20 smaller accumulation in the shelf area of Laconia made those area is the most important gas province. So based on the on this diagram, right diagram, we show that the well-defined carbonate builds up have been affected by sin depositional faulting during their growth as revealed by the seismic section, but stratigraphically, central Laconia fields can be defined as carbonate builds up that being embedded in shales and siliciclastic. So next. Okay, next for this study, the reservoir geometry that happened in carbonate buildup in central Laconia can be separated into 5 wells, which is well A, B, C, D, and E. So turn out that these 5 wells were located in different sectors in central Laconia. For well A and well B, they were intersect in a deeper carbonate platform that located in northeast of central Laconia. Meanwhile, for well C, well D, and well E were located in the southwest side of the central Laconia, and it was intersect of the shallower platform. So, furthermore, because of the well location and depth of the carbonate, these wells were divided into 2 platforms, which is for platform 1 are well A and well B, whereas the platform 2 are for well C, well D, and well E. So as you guys can see the diagram, the distance between those 2 platforms is 52 kilometer. So next. So next, let's move to the depositional sequence. There's according to Epting 1989, terminology state that this carbonate consists of the following depositional units. So the correlation of this well was also validated or correlated with the biostratigraphic dataset from one legacy core. So for the first type, which is triangulated basal phase cycle 3 and 4, which is the basal unit. So as you guys can see, this basal cycle phase was characterized by dark color with the coral debris and containing silty carbonate, which is the mud dominated with large foraminifera. So when the distribution and the reoccurrence pattern of the phases within and amongst units suggests that the changes of the cyclicity probably because of the local extension that occur during the regression phase of the carbonate deposit. Sorry. So the next one is main build-up phase cycle 4. So for this cycle 4, it was being highlighted in platform 2 because of it was characterized by sedimentation in a protected back environment, maybe during the prologue period of relatively stable sea level. So it contained massive coralline algae, foraminifera, and coral dolomite limestone that being composed in this build-up phase. Besides, because of the top part of the unit is sharp and it were tentatively interpreting to reflect a sea level low stain. And you can say that the calcitic dolomites was well developed in the lower part of this phase. Let me explain the diagram later. Let me finish up this type of depositional sequence. For the next one is main build-up phase of cycle 5. So according to Epting 1918, in a typical build-up setting, the rising of the sea level being kept pace by the rock forming organism. So it showed that the reef debris is the major source that the carbonate sedimentation in the build-up setting, which it leads to the carbonate complex activity to grow upward. So based on the whale diagram in slide before, it showed that at interval of 10,419 until 10,300 feet and 10,156 and 10,000 to 22 feet, there were two shallowing upward cycles being recognized. And the next part is transgressive cape phase cycle 5, which is the built-in. So this type of phase cycle is a heterogeneous unit, which it comprises various type of rocks and reflecting the depositional environment ranges from shallow open marine to the deeper marine. And it compared to the underlying unit, this environment has deepened and overall carbonate growth has shifted for a reefal build up to a rhodolites dominated carbonate shoal. So next, so for the above diagram, this was a main build up phase of cycle 4, and for the platform for the build up related to sea level fluctuation in 5 whales, and the platform 2 comparison with Epting. For this platform 2, this diagram. There's the research for FT 1980, which is state that in the development of a built-out system, the lagoon becomes enlarged as a result of migration of the reef flat and the 4 feet towards the sea. And in Miocene build-ups, the situation that being informed above confirmed that the platform 2 build-ups will grow during the phase of a carbonate build-up. Meanwhile, for the next diagram beside it, it was a transgressive cape phase cycle V built-in those. Sorry. So the unit were interpreted to have been deposited during the second, third order sea level cycle. And basically, the growth of the carbonate builds up was terminated because of the rapid encouragement of Barham Delta sediment, which can be observed from the seismic and wireline logs. So next slide, please. So for next, as shown in the sedimentology part, for this case study, we more focus on the platform 1, and it states that platform 1 consists of well A and well B, which being divided by 5 phases. So for this diagram, it shows that the cross plot between depth and density present in the reservoir interval of well A and B, and the occurrence of density represent the increase in the rate of dolomitization with increasing depth. So it can be summarizing that dolomitization is the most striking diagenetic process for the reservoir rock development, and the research state that the algae, limite, and partially foraminifera are being dolomitized in well A and well B, and the highly dolomitized in the study area was calcitic dolomites with the grain density more or equal to 2.82. So and this part more highlight in phases 4, because based on the grain density, it composed of limestone to dolomite, but the percent of limestone is more than the dolomite. So next slide. So finally, we move to the diagenetic process in platform 1. So basically, based on the diagram, it can be interpreted that the aggregation of neomorphisms was found that the huge majority of the microcrystalline calcite samples are recrystallized to spheric calcite with different range of crystal size. So the diagram of the components being go through different process from complete to partial aggregation of recrystallization. So this process build up the shell of the skeletal components to stable phase that have been supported by the presence of high magnesium calcite under the meteoric condition. And to conclude, there is a lot of process going through in this diagram, which is the for the diagram A and B. The genetic process was mercuritization, which is the bioclasts are altered by the attack of bacteria, fungi, and else make it lead to form migrated around the bioclast in the equator water of the sea level. And for the next diagram, which is diagram C, was processed by cementation, reducing different type of porosity, especially Vogel porosity type. And the next one is diagram D, neomorphism, mostly affected the gray internal structure as well as the metric background. And the lastly, DEF was compaction. And the compaction is due to chemical and mechanical process and overburden pressure. So that's all. That's enough for me talking. Let's pass to the next presenter.
Okay, so now from this picture and graph here consists of the important part in the diagenesis process, which is the solution. So the solution is the main diagenetic process, which Zuhaira mentioned earlier, which will enhance the quality of the reservoir by improving the porosity and also the permeability. The major cause of dissolution is because of the leaching and the solubility of calcium carbonate that increase from low magnesium to argonite and high magnesium calcite and high magnesium calcite. Moldic and Vagi porosity were largely being generated in this process. The rate of dissolution based on the time of sediments being exposed to the meteoric water for this platform. The dissolution result in different types of porosity, which is moldic, Vagi, intraparticle, and interparticle. Actually, for fact, the dissolution process occurred in each type of phases, but it is more intensively on phases 2 and 4 by producing secondary porosity as dominated by the moldic and followed by Vagi, intraparticle, and interparticle porosity. Visible porosity varies from poor to fair in phases 1 and 5 and is locally good to very good in phases 2, 3, and 4. The porosity and permeability the data of various reservoir phases also shows that the phases 2, 3, and 4 have better reservoir qualities, while tight limestone phases 1 and 5 are characterized by poor reservoir qualities. Okay, next. Okay, firstly for diagram A is stylolites and solution seams are the products of the chemical compaction. The sucrose dolomite, which is a local source of dolomization, was the responsible resource to form sucrose dolomite from high coralline red algae content. And for your information, these dolomites represent a very good reservoir quality. And to conclude from this diagram here, the phases 2, 3, and 4 are the potential reservoir phases, except for the occasional development of non-touching mold and also micritization, sorry. The micritization of diagenetic process that affects the quality of the reservoir, which it will destroy the internal structure of the grains and also reduce the porosity for almost all of the phases except for phases 2 the rate of micritization is higher compared to the other phases. So in conclusion, we could say that the open basin in the northeastern section of central Luconia is looked towards the well A and B carbonate building platforms. The deepest carbonate platforms, constituting cycle 4 and 5 carbonates, are made up of these buildups, which are the coated green packstone, coral lime grainstone, oncolite lime grain dominated packstone, skeletal lime packstone, and finally coral lime mud dominated packstone are the different types of lithofacies that are found in central Luconia carbonates. And here we have the references for all of our pictures and diagrams that we use in our presentation today. So that's all from us. Thank you.